Okay, here's something that the you can't find on YouTube easily, so I'm going to explain this to you. Some of my challenges. So this here is what they call an injector sleeve, but what you'll find printed everywhere is they're calling this an injector cup. Now, what this does is this sits inside of the head of the engine, and this is where your critical failures can occur with your fuel injectors and an LB7. So Duramax LB7 engine. So what we have here is you got some rubber rings, O-rings that will go around here. This is brand new. This is what I'm putting in as I replace the injectors in the LB7. It doesn't make sense to leave the old ones in there when this is where some of your critical failures will occur. So this tapered end right here fits into, goes down into the head of the engine. And this thing here really doesn't need any sealant by design. What it does, it slips into a small hole at the bottom of the head, and then it seals right there. And now what they do is when they go replace these, they go ahead and they put some red Loctite around here. It's not a permanent Loctite. It's just there to help seal, make a good seal. Because what happens in the combustion chamber as the piston comes up and the gas and the fuel air mixture explodes and starts expanding, right? This seal here prevents that gas from coming around here and getting into the water chambers. So inside the engine, there's a cavity here. This is all an open space, and water flows around this, circulates around this, all these injector sleeves or cups. And what happens is that it cools off the injectors because they get hot. And these rings here keep the fluid from coming out this way. This also prevents the water or the coolant from going into the chamber of the engine, right? As the pistons come up and down and do its job, this also prevents coolant from coming in here, and that's another failure. So if this doesn't seat properly, you're going to lose coolant. Coolant will get in there, and obviously you're going to get some smoke coming out the back end. So water vapors and so on. So this is a very important part of the engine. So I'm trying to replace these in my engine, and sometimes, like right now, I have one that's stuck in there. I mean, really tight, and it's probably because there's carbon buildup here, and it's seized in there. So I'm having a difficult time trying to get it out with your traditional puller. But first, this is what it looks like. So here's the injector. This is an old one, and this injector fits in here. And you see down here, it's got to seat properly and come out in order to have the right spray pattern in order for this your engine to run smoothly as intended. Okay. Sometimes when you right around here, the combustion gases also get in between here and comes up inside of between here and this sleeve right here, and this will pull out when you pull the injector out. So anyways, when you need to replace these, like I want to here in this case, you can run into one, just very hard to get out. So what I did is I bought this tool right here. Now this tool here, if you look at the end here, okay, you got this little coned end right here. This cone end will slide up in between these little, I guess I call them leaves, right? Like that, and it spreads. So right now, if I were to put this in here like this, inside and then spin this down like this, okay? Now, realistically, this will sit on part of the head of the engine, okay? So you have something that this can press against and start pulling up. But basically what happens is that you tighten this bolt down here after a wrench goes around here, and then what you do is you tighten this down and this will pull. And as it pulls, it spreads this out right here and grabs onto the sleeve, so that when you put this over the top like this, and you put this and put this nut on, you spin this nut and it will pull this rod out like this, thus sliding this out of the engine head. Okay, here's the problem. When you got when your sleeve is really stuck in there like I have one right now, this here, when it spreads, only gets a small piece of that surface on the inside of this. It's very small, about right here, just spreads, and you only get that grip there. That grip sometimes is not enough to break whatever is holding this inside. And that's the flaw with this kind of tool. This tool has to have the ability, a tool has to have the ability to grab as much surface inside this cup in order to get a better grip. And this tool won't do that. So I looked on the internet to find a better tool, and I found one from Merchant, I think Services. I'll try to provide a link below. I'm not a content creator, but what it does, instead of having this type, it has where this thing's cut in half, a rod comes through, and what it does is as this rod goes up, it forces a round piece here, just a shaft like this, but screwed onto the end here, and as it gets tight, there's an angle cut here, so it forces this piece of the tube to slide that way, while this creates force this way as the rod goes up. So now what you have is you have this surface right here, and then you have the round part of the surface over here forcing pressure all up and down on one side here and all up and down one side here, versus the other one where it's just barely gripping right here. So my hope is that my problem will be solved when I get the other one and slide that bad boy in here, and it presses up this way and presses up this way, down at the bottom half and then at the top half, and hopefully that'll be able to pull the cup out. And if not, then I'm going to have to do the nuclear option, which is very expensive. Is that to have the head pulled off, and then this thing that's sticking slightly out of the bottom of the inner head, into the chamber, they're going to have to get a little nipple and put it right on top and a hammer and tap that sucker out. Use some forced measures to get this thing out, and that's going to be expensive. Anyways, that's what I wanted to do. Is you get a lot of these YouTube how-to videos on how to replace injectors in an LB7, and they always stage those videos because that's their bread and butter, that's how they make money, but it's not as simple as it seems. In fact, this is more than likely one of the scenarios you're going to get into when you do this kind of work. Anyways, good luck with your project. I hope you don't run into what I've run into. But if you do, at least you know how you're going to solve your problem before taking the nuclear option.